We have a rather interesting presentation tonight, courtesy of James Chappel. He's been working on this for quite a while. I've heard all of us, and I would include me in that, actually end a song maybe just a little bit flat. Uh, not every time, but once in a while, certain songs. And James has been putting shoulder to the wheel to come up with a presentation that's going to fix all that. So take it away, James.
You're muted there, James.
We going straight into the video, James?
Sure. Yeah, you can do that.
Okay.
How to sing in tune? Answer: use a drone. Yes, there are many drone videos out there, but most are just the sound of one note with the video showing the name of that note. And the few videos that explain what to do may be well-meaning, but are inadequate or simply wrong. And yet most of us have done this instinctively. We'll harmonize with any note we encounter that stays still. And I mean any note, like an airplane, a coffee maker, an air compressor, and we discovered instinctively the pleasure of singing intervals in tune. So let's do that. First, I want to show you how to use this video. 1. Have the drone sound loud. You must be able to hear and feel the interaction of the drone note with your note. The narration volume is intentionally low so that the drone volume will be high. Every time you sing, make it a habit to use good posture and natural, relaxed vocal production and breathing. This screen will show many things. 1. The drone note and the note you sing will appear on the staff and the keyboard in colored numbers. 1 and red means the root of the chord, 5 and orange means the fifth of the chord, etc. The letter name will be sung in the demonstration of your note. In the blue horizontal bar, you'll see what the video is doing. Right now, for example, is an explanation of how to use this video and what the screen tells you. This green horizontal bar indicates what you will be doing. If you see this green bar, except for now, you will know it's your time to do something. This will also help you in future practice to fast forward or skip through the video to the next activity once you know what you're supposed to do. The footnotes and vocabulary indicator will appear every time a word or concept comes up that might require more explanation. For example, drone, or interval, or root, fifth. You can also choose to look this up in the description below for more clarification and references, or just keep going. You now see in the blue bar it says Directions. The large part of the screen shows the content of what you will be doing. Because this is the first time, let's do each of these 5 steps one at a time. 1. Pitch match. In my demonstration, I'm going to listen to the drone note C. Then when it stops, I'm going to audiate that C by playing it back in my head. Then, the most important part of audiation, I'm going to imagine the sound and feeling of that C in my voice, including a natural relaxed posture and breath. Then I will sing it. Demonstration. 1. Listen to the drone C. Play that back in your head. Then imagine the feel and sound of your own voice and then sing with this C. C. Your turn.
I think for the purposes of being able to participate, I'm going. Oh, wrong one. I'm going to mute everybody. Or if everyone wouldn't mind muting themselves. Let's see. There we go. And that way you can sing along without making it hard to hear each other.
Back. Your turn. Play back. 2. Sing below and above. We'll intentionally flatten, then sharpen our note. Start on pitch, then lower the pitch or flatten and return to pitch. Then raise or sharpen and return to pitch, or vice versa. Demonstration 1. I'll listen. Play it back. Sound and feel. Your turn. Three. Sing slightly below and above. Start on pitch, but this time gently, slowly, and barely lower the pitch and return, and the same above. Demo 1. Audiate and sing. Your turn. Listen and audiate. Four. Repeat listening to the beats. Beats are the pulsing caused when two notes are out of tune. Listen to these two guitar strings go in and out of tune and the beating or pulsing sound that it causes. Now watch and listen to these tone generators do the same thing. Now you can understand why not to use vibrato. If it helps you to warm up, fine, then warm up first, but you can't hear the beating, blending, being locked in tune with vibrato, so no vibrato. 5. Slow the beats through the center. You can hear the beats slow down to nothing when you pitch match exactly in tune. If you try to hold it in that one place, it can wobble or feel unsteady. Instead, if you imagine moving forward through that note, it will smooth out. Like riding a bike too slow, it's hard to balance. With a bit more forward momentum, it smooths out. So this time, audiate the sound and feel of your voice, including the feeling of moving air through your voice, moving sound through the room, and moving your note from where it starts to where it's going. Demo. Listen. Audiate movement and sing. Your turn. Listen. Audiate movement and sing. Do it again, but this time don't judge how good or bad. Just notice the imperfections, the wobbles, the beats. Just notice them. Don't try to fix them. Don't judge them. Just notice what happens. The next most important interval after the unison is the octave. This order of intervals to learn is the same as the harmonic series. So the next interval would be the fifth, then the fourth, and the major third, and so on. Everything about harmony comes from the harmonic series. Everything about intonation, balance, timbre, overtones, resultants, everything comes from the harmonic series. I can't stress enough to include this in the understanding, but it's beyond the scope of this right now. You can look it up in the footnotes and see other videos. I highly recommend it. From now on, let's do these 5 steps as just one step. If the note is in tune with the drone, you'll hear and feel the lock or blend or smooth lack of beating. If you're out of tune but not sure where, bend a little flat or sharp. Play with it and hear what happens with the beats. Listen to the drone C, but audiate the sound and feel and support and movement of the C an octave above. Listen. Audiate an octave above. Sound, feel, support, movement. C. Your turn. Audiate an octave up and sing. From now on, let's combine steps 1 and 2. So while you're listening to the drone C, audiate the sound and feel and momentum and support of your own voice. Demo, drone C. Listen and audiate, then sing. The next most important interval to sing in tune is the so-called perfect fifth. In the harmonic series, you see that it is the third harmonic in the series, meaning that it vibrates 3 times faster than the fundamental, just like the octave vibrates 2 times faster than the fundamental. Don't confuse harmonic with interval. The third harmonic in this C harmonic series is a G. How do you find or audiate G from a drone C? Answer: count up 5, i.e. a perfect fifth. If this is 1, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 5, G sounds like this. So So a perfect fifth up is 5 up, counting the note you start on as 1, and 5 is the note you arrive at. Demonstration, let's pick another note. Let's say this A, and we go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1, 5, then audiate that 1 and go straight to the 5. 5. Okay, and while we're on this 5, let's play around with it flat and sharp and see what it feels like. 5. Your turn. Audiate while you listen, then sing. So here's your given one. Sing 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And repeat 5. Now play around with 5. Okay, here's a different 1. I'm going to pick a 1. 1. Sing 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Now go straight to 5. Now play around with it. Okay, one last one. Sing 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Now go straight to 5. And play around with it. Without singing, you can audiate this whole thing in your head, and then you can audiate directly from 1 to 5. Or you can use another popular method, which is to use songs to identify intervals. So a perfect fifth, for example, would be, do you hear what I hear? Do you hear what is a perfect fifth? Or twinkle, twinkle. Twinkle, twinkle. And the beginning of the trumpet solo from 2001, A Space Odyssey. Recognize it? I'll keep going. Boom, 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 boom. You get the idea. So pick a method, and from this C drone, find the fifth, or the G, and sing. Play around with it and listen to the beats and the lock feel and everything we did with the unison and the octave. The next most important interval to sing in tune is the perfect fourth. In the harmonic series, you'll see that this is the distance between the third harmonic and the fourth harmonic. So like before, we can count up the 4 steps from the drone C. 1, 2, 3, 4. Or we could use a song like Here Comes the Bride, or Oh Christmas Tree, or even the timpani that I was trying to sing before. Bum, 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 bum. Here's the drone C on 1, 2, 3, 4. Here's the F on 4. Sing F. Play around with it. Go flat and sharp. Lock it in. The next most important interval to sing in tune is the major third. In the harmonic series, it occurs between members 4 and 5. From the drone note 1, audiate 1, 2, 3, and sing 3 with the 1. From the drone note C, the major third above is E. Sing E with the drone C. I'm going to play around with it. E. Your turn. So you can hear that it does lock in tune where the beating stops. Now I'm going to prove to you with this equal temperament keyboard the beating that occurs in equal temperament. That's how far out equal temperament is. 14 cents too big. We sing 14 cents smaller or flatter than the piano major third. The next interval, a major 6, occurs between the 3rd and 5th members of the harmonic series. We can count up 6 steps from here. Did you arrive here? Or you can use a melody like My Bonnie Lies Over the Ocean. Or Princess Leia's theme from Star Wars. Here's 1, sing 6. If 1 is a C, then 6 is an A. Sing A. Another way to check the intonation of the 6 is to throw in the root of the chord. In other words, I'm going to throw in an F with the C, and that perfect fourth on a piano is so close that we can use it, and we sing the A. A. Your turn. Although the piano perfect fourth is very close, you may have still heard some beating. We've now done the major third, perfect fourth, perfect fifth, and major sixth. We've now done 6 of the 8 intervals in a major scale. Let's do them in the order we learned them, starting with the perfect unison. C. Your turn. Octave C, C, C. Your turn. 5th G, G. Your turn. 4th F, F. Your turn. Major third E, E. Your turn. And the major 6, A, A. Your turn. This time, slide all the way from 3 up to 6 and back. 3 up to 6 and back to 3. And pause a little bit when you hit 4, and pause on 5, and pause on 6, and back to 3. So, 3. Okay, your turn. And this time a little faster. So 3. turn. This time a little quicker between the steps. Your turn. We need 2 and 7 to complete the major scale, but these are quite a bit more difficult than 3 through 6 and the octave in unison. In the harmonic series, the second degree of the scale doesn't occur until the 9th harmonic, which also happens to be, by coincidence, the 9th of a chord. So the 9th is the second degree of the scale. Let's do that one first. To tune the second degree from the first degree, that is from the D off of a drone C, D, is quite difficult. So we're going to cheat like we did on the 6th and add a G or a 5th from C, which still sounds pretty good in tune. To tune the D from, it's easier to lock it in. I'll show you what I mean. D. Your turn. Here's the 5th to help you. And the same with the 7th. It's really hard to go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. It's a difficult interval to tune. And normally you wouldn't, unless you had to. You would tune it off of the 3rd if the 3rd was in tune. If not, you'd tune it off the 5th if the 5th was in tune. So here's the 5th. And now I'm going to retune the keyboard's E. That E, I won't play much of it because I'm going to put it in the right place so that we can tune the 5th off of it. So here's the C. Here's the retuned E. And together they are. So first from the root, count up 7 and sing 7. 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And now with the help of the 5th added, the G, you're still going to sing the 7 with this. And now the help with the 3rd. We now have all 8 notes of the scale that we can sing against a drone C. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. I'm sorry that most of this video so far has been explanations, directions, demonstrations with not enough singing. So congratulations if you made it this far. Now that you know what to do, I promise you more singing. No, almost all singing from here on in the series. To that aim, we're now going to sing in rhythm through the scale and You can sing with me in the demo, as I will have pitch corrected my notes to be perfectly in tune. You'll also hear the added second drone note on the more difficult second and seventh and even the sixth degrees of the scale. Let's sing. C, D, E, F, G, A, B, C, C, D, E, F, D, D, C. C, D, E, F, G, A, B, C, C, A, G, F, D, D, C. C, D, E, F, G, A, B, C, C, A, G, F, E, D, C. Now that you know intonation as it feels and sounds in your own voice, the point is to habitually allow that to improve. In the 4 stages of learning, you may have been 1. Unconsciously incompetent, then 2. Consciously incompetent, you're welcome, and then 3. Becoming more consciously competent. But to get to 4. Unconsciously competent, you must focus on something else to allow your natural tendency to sing in tune to function unencumbered. What does that mean? To beware of something else means consciously focusing on something else, like vowel shape, breath support, emotional meaning, you name it. Literally, you name it. You pick some aspect of singing, other than intonation, and explore and practice it while in tune, or while allowing your natural tuning skills to function on their own. So pick a color, any color, and start painting. Here's Phil's list, or maybe you have your own way of getting to your best sound. Do that while you sing with a drone. That's what Phase 2 is all about. Everything else. Phase 1 is directly dealing with pitch, what this video has been until now. Phase 2 is indirectly dealing with pitch. Often the indirect approach works, especially when it requires the conviction to bring your voice to bear, for which a prerequisite is being confident. But do phase 1 until you get it. You may not be perfectly in tune on every note, but you can hear when you're out, and if you're relaxed and warmed up enough, you can improve it. So focus on pitch with a drone until your pitch awareness is constant. Then do phase 2, which is singing with a drone as a vehicle to work on other aspects of singing. So now you know what to listen for and how it feels in your voice and body when you're in and out of tune. And that means we can sing way more with less explanations, so long as we sing freely without imposing artificial posture or vocal tensions or breathing. Here's a sneak peek at the next video. 5 more chromatic notes. Let's sample how we'll learn A flat, the middle black note, as it sounds and feels with our drone C. Simply sing A flat all the way through several chords that all contain the exact same drone C. Take breaths when you want, just do it naturally. On the screen you can watch what the other notes of the chord are while you sing, but in phase 1 the focus is on staying locked in tune on your unchanging A flat with the unchanging drone C. Sing this A flat all the way through, A flat, keep going. Sing this A flat all the way through. That's it.
That was cool, James. I liked it. That was fun
Yeah.
too.
Excellent.
Amazing.
I like the 2001 reference.
I was fond
That
of
was great,
Princess
James.
Leia,
Thanks.
actually. Is that you playing?
That's got nothing to do with it, Alex.
Yeah.
We're talking music here.
That was the first time I picked up my horn in 20 years. But trumpet, I did every now and then teaching band, but not horn.
You can borrow my tuba next time. We'll do bass.
Yeah. Well, maybe watch the mouthpiece first.
Well, that was pretty
Lots of
incredible.
alcohol.
Very well done, James. Very well done.
And that whole presentation is on YouTube, so we can actually share the YouTube. I can look after sending it out tomorrow, just for the sake of everyone who missed tonight. We can still record this for the sake of our annual meeting and everything else that went on, but for people to practice with that presentation, we can fire that out as a YouTube connection, and then that's all anyone has to listen to.
I think it'd also be a really nice gesture to send it out to people like the Squares, the Thunderbirds, creating content like this. The more reach it has, the more impact you've got with your education.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
I actually thought this afternoon, which was a little too late, that maybe what we should have done is invited Rising Tide into this exercise as well.
I did send it out to them.
Oh, did you? Okay.
They've got the the YouTube address for it.
Okay.
I was gonna. I'm looking for feedback. I mean, it's great to hear your compliments and everything, and I appreciate that. Thank you. I'm glad you enjoyed it, but I'm hell bent on making it actually work and make a difference, and so that's why I've always counted on your honest feedback. So I could see a few faces, and at first I couldn't tell if you were singing along. Did it take you a while to go, oh, I'm actually supposed to sing with this? Were you all singing with it?
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay.
I had to lift my headphones off one ear so I could hear myself. Otherwise, I really were singing loud and my neighbors were objecting.
Yeah, it's having the volume thing is really, really important. You've got to be in your comfort zone personally, and it has to be able to balance at the same volume to hear the interaction. So that's something I can't monitor, but I can't stress enough how important that is.
My
Dave?
observation would be pacing. Raise your hand if it was like if it was too fast for you. Was there anybody that was okay? So just a couple. Yep, 3 or 4.
I'm gonna say, yeah.
Yeah,
It got fast near the end.
got fast near the end. Yeah.
Well,
but
I
that
think
was a
when you
preview.
demonstrated a certain speed, but when you said sing, that drone note wasn't the same length. So I found myself having to go a lot faster to hit the bottom note
Yeah, me
at
too.
the same time. So the drone wasn't the same length.
My question was mainly about the pacing of instruction, like between the the sing along and the demonstration when he's saying what the next one is going to be. How was that pacing? Was anybody just barely holding on, or it was everything good?
I thought it was great pacing.
To my young
was
ears,
good.
and most of the YouTube videos
Yeah.
I watch are heavily edited to take out gaps, and it's just rapid fire, rapid fire, rapid fire, rapid fire, just to hold on to people's attention, like ADHD here. That to me, there's moments where you can go rapid fire when it's not like a when it's not a new piece of information, right? When you're talking about the harmonic series, maybe slow it down so that we don't just completely lose people. But when you're just saying, all right, so now what we're going to do is we're going to do what we just did again, and I don't know, there's room for adjusting pacing just so it doesn't become one pace, which I don't know, it just grabs the attention more when something is run through. Just
Looks like Jim has a comment.
Yeah. Did anybody else notice that there was no sound when you did that tone generator thing where you had the 2 knobs and you were going out of pitch?
Yeah,
I
there was
didn't hear a
sound.
thing there.
There was sound. You just have to listen very carefully. It's
Chris,
vibrations.
I heard it.
Chris,
I heard it.
Yeah.
Chris pointed this out before, and so I believe you, Chris. And Jim had no sound during that part. Was there anybody else?
No, I heard it.
It took me halfway through the process to realize what was going on. Then I recognized the sound and then
Yeah.
heard the beats, but
Me
it took
too.
me a while to actually pick it up.
I have a comment about the major. It's the major scale we're talking about here. Of course, not the only scale, but when you're looking at the keyboard, you're going tone, tone, semitone, tone, 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 semitone, and I don't know if that makes it easier or difficult to notice. Something to keep in mind, James, because I did enjoy it.
Sorry about the tone, tone, semitone.
The major key.
Yes. So sorry, I still don't know what you mean.
Well, when we're dealing with the major key, go from C or any bass chord, the major goes 1, 2, which is tone, 2, 3, a tone, 3, 4 is a semitone, 4, 5, a semitone, and so on. They vary between tones and semitones on the way up the scale.
So so what you're saying is use that to reinforce the construction, this tone and semitone.
Perhaps.
Yeah, that was one of my questions was for the end was I try to incorporate some of the nuts and bolts. I don't want to be a theory lesson, but like for rhythm, for example, whole notes and half notes, quarter notes, just sneak that in there and maybe you'll get it accidentally. And maybe I could have done the same with tone and semitone.
There's a question from Terry.
Yes, James, I had the one spot that I had a big problem was when we're singing up the scale and we're looking at notes that go flat and it's all C and we're singing C, D, E, F, G up the scale. And my brain is going, wait, that's all C, C, D. When I'm looking at that, I want to read it and it's C, 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 and I'm singing up the scale while I'm looking at that. It kind of threw me off.
The resolution was really quite low, and I couldn't read. It says drone on the 3 systems, which Dallin did for me. Thank you very much. Those 3 systems, where the top system was like typically lead and tenor, and the next system bass and barrier, and underneath the 3rd system down it said drone there, but the resolution's so low it just looked like a blob on my screen.
So I wonder if Terry was meaning when you get to the 3 lines of music, it might help for us less educated in music to know, okay, if you're singing baritone or bass, you're the middle line. And if you're singing lead and tenor, you're the top of those 3 lines.
Now, actually, what I was referring to was we were looking at a sheet of music that was C, 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 C all across, but we're singing a scale from C to C going up. And my brain is looking.
Look at it again. Go back to the video. Go on YouTube and see it in better resolution. You'll notice that there are 3 staffs: there's tenor, lead, top, bass, baritone, middle, and drone on the bottom.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
My only issue was remembering the letters. So C, D, E, F, G, A, B, C. Remembering to change and not go up and then coming down. That was my only issue with it. But that was my issue, not yours.
Yeah. But for me, that was actually very helpful to be singing the notes, because again, I haven't been trained in music, but all of a sudden, just having done that a few times, it gives me a better understanding of the relationship to the notes where we're going. So that singing them out loud was actually quite helpful.
Okay, can I ask, those are all nuts and bolts, and I'm glad that that stuff is happening, but the actual process, like how many of you perhaps heard beats for the first time or understood it clearly for the first time? Okay, some. Because that's really important.
Nearly half.
And to be able to hear that, especially for the first time, and then play around with it, you talk about pacing, really just getting that far and having one person with, all you need is a keyboard and any organ sound or any sound like that that's constant and doesn't have vibrato or tremolo or anything that wavers, because it's got to be dead straight. And if you have that and you play around with it, that's what this whole video is about. And really, it would have been nice to be able to pause there and have individual, monitoring of everybody and make sure you're on that track. Because if you can do it with the unison, you can do it with the octave. And then if you can do it there, you can do it with the 5th. And then you can do it with the 3rd. And every time you go up to a smaller interval or go up the scale, it gets a little bit finer to find that point where it gets in tune. But if you can do it once, you're on your way. That's all it is just listening. You don't even have to know if you're flat or sharp. You just start playing around, and if it goes faster, wah, 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 you're going the wrong way. Wah, 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 you've gone the right way, and it's in tune.
And Jim, on that point, it might be helpful to have people have the speaker plugged in. I was noticing I was drowning out the volume on my computer. So I wasn't getting enough benefit of that, but if I had plugged into a speaker to increase the sound, then I would be coming up to that level of sound and I wouldn't be drowning it out. It would be easier to notice what you just described.
So my question is now then, with that beating, were you playing with that the entire time? Is that your process now when you hear the blend or the beating?
Yeah, I think it will be. Yeah.
Okay, because that's the goal. Yeah.
Looks like Mac's got a question.
I would like to see a little bit more explaining right off the bat how beating is your enemy, so that you want to get away from it. You did a wonderful job of showing what it was, but I think if you could show us how beating is singing out of tune and it's your enemy and you want to work away from it, I think it might help the process of us learning how to get away from it. Does that make sense?
Yeah. I've included in this, there was a little footnote about phase and resultants,
Yes.
and all that. And then if you go and you look on YouTube in the description and you diligently go down and find that, you'll find out that particular footnote is TBA, to be announced.
Okay.
I haven't done that yet. I've done lots of other videos that are referenced in there, and you should read the description anyway.
I will do that.
Come and find it. But I take your point, and I have one more tool in my tool bag. You may have remembered in another video. It's a kind of a green squirrely oscillating line figure.
Yes.
And yeah, and it'll wobble and won't create a stable image if the two notes are out of tune.
Yes.
So I should include that too, and really, because this is the crux of the whole matter, is being able to hear that while you sing.
Mm-hmm.
Just to clarify, Mac and James, are you talking about beating the same as vibrato, a fluctuation in the pitch, or a flattening?
No, vibrato is within one sound, and that's why we can't hear it. We can't use it because we hear it as pretty much the same phenomena. It sounds very similar. The two notes out of tune, like the guitar or those oscillators, when they're out and they're going wah 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 wah, it doesn't sound a lot different than with, you know, I can't do it very good, but you know, so that's why we don't use vibrato, and that's why when you use a drone, if you want to practice this at home, do it properly. Use a sound that doesn't have a vibrato. So what we're talking about isn't vibrato. It's actually the phasing, the reaction between the two notes. So I don't know, maybe that should be a little bit, before we try to go on, to really make this point, to make sure that every single one of us can sing, and even if we can't hold it straight, which I have a really hard time doing, but even if we can't hold it straight, we know when we're out, oh, it's above, oh, it's below, and you can hear it going on. So you're in the process, but there's no sense really going on unless we're really solid with that phenomena, what it feels like.
James, I think what Mac was getting to, and it's what I was going to mention as well, is just to front load it before you even start, because everything that we needed was there. Everything we needed was there, except maybe a bit of a conclusion before we start. A very, very explicit conclusion as to say that, so we're going to explore this. And once you find this point, that solid point, you will then know how to stay on pitch. So that's what we're going to learn now. So because you do kind of, you couple a few other things in there, like as you said, you dotted them in there, and that's great. But sometimes that muddles up what is your major point. And if you would say to begin with what the major point is, and you did a bit of a tag along that said how to sing in tune, that was a hint. But we just needed something a little more explicit to begin with, just to know that this is your major goal. What is your major goal? If you tell us that, that's what we're going to watch for, and then we'll understand that's your goal. And then when you dot in all the other stuff, like, you know, including the letters of the notes and things like that, or the names of the notes, then other people will understand that's not the point you're getting at. That's not your major point, although it's useful. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I'm thinking maybe like the best thing maybe is to do a preliminary video. And leave it what, and maybe I can tag it on the beginning after, but just get a basic concept, because that could be 20 minutes of just showing different things and experimenting and just getting this whole thing of.
So again, I think that's unnecessary. When I'm saying front loaded, I mean like 3 lines, 3 more sentences outside of how to sing in tune. Our goal is to find this. How we will know we find this is by this. And you've already said it, capitulated quite nicely a couple of times just in your conversations with different Tidesmen. And it's just boom, that was it. In a nutshell, that was it. If you could just add that short 15-second explanation after how to sing in tune, then people are going to know, oh, this is the major goal. This is what we're going for. Because everything else is there. What you presented tonight was fantastic, thorough, explicit, fantastic. Just wasn't always clear where you were going with it. You could tell us where you're going before we go. That's great.
So it could be as simple as by the time we finish this video, you will feel when you're singing flat or when you're singing sharp and how to get to the bass line or whatever.
And you will know when you experience this. And you can talk about the beating then. Like it seriously in 3 lines. And you already did it several times this evening, post presentation. It was really good, by the way.
Oh, excellent.
Fantastic.
Gee.
Any other questions or feedback of James?
I just want to say how fortunate we are to have James trying to take us Luddites into the next generation of understanding how things work. And those of us who've been around for 100 years, why when we feel something this way, we just kind of the baritone shoulder rolls and it works. Now we know the theory behind it. We just need to continue to enjoy how to do that. Thank you, my friend.
Chris Potter, I think, had a hand up to say something. You're on mute though, Chris.
Where is he? Where did Chris go?
Yeah, you're still
Mute.
muted.
There we go.
Chris. There you go.
Sorry, there we go. There we go. Yeah, this is my second time through this video. I went through it earlier on today, and I'm now getting it better. It is something we actually are going to have to listen to more than once. It's going to take me a while because I'm an old fart with a slow brain now. But yeah, it's excellent. I agree with Sandy though, because now I understand what I'm trying to do, and I felt the pulsing quite a few times, and it's fascinating. Thank you. I'm shutting up now.
And the good news is that it's about a 35-minute video, but once you go through it the second or third time, you're going to skip through the parts that you really want to use. So it then becomes like about a 10 or 12-minute video exercise. So it's really not that long of an exercise. And we really do need to do that, if not daily, every other day, that little exercise, going through those same spots, so that when we get to the second installment of this teaching, we're hitting it fairly solid and we're getting maximum out of the next session. So yeah, we are very fortunate. So I think Alex's suggestion of sharing it with other chapters and maybe even sending it to Evergreen or VHS, but we'll let James decide when he's done the tweaking that he wants to give the release.
Yeah, so I'm thinking that intro thing, I should have a look at that at least, you know. Yeah. And there's lots of little typos and stuff too that I got to fix.
Sure, but wow.
Also, James, I loved the end, the application part at the end. It'd be great when you finish the entire series if we can make a separate video with just the application parts on it. So I don't have to go through 6 videos to find my application piece. I can go to my one. I can just go through the whole thing, and because I'll already have the learning.
Yeah, that's what I was talking to you, Glenn, about earlier today, was having a follow-up video, which is the same content, but without all the explanation, and just sing only.
Yeah.
Yeah, that'd be fantastic. I can't wait.
Yeah.
James, just a thought. I really enjoyed matching the 1/4, but regarding pacing, if there was some kind of a video or some kind of icon on the screen that would show me how much time I've got to complete the exercise, then I'd be able to get it done by the end, because it's kind of like locking a chord and milking it for all it's worth. When you find the sweet spot, you kind of want to stay there and not go over to too high or too low. So I guess it's my weakness of enjoying the synchrony of it, or the way you can bend it. But if you had some kind of an icon to show when you had to get back to the end of the exercise, that would help.
Yeah, my question on that was I didn't use rhythm until part 2, where we just did the one A flat in the next video, and I used a beat. Or sorry, not that. I didn't use it in that, and I was wondering if I should have used it in that. And as soon as I've got a concept, use beat. So my question really is, when it had a beat and we were doing the scale, you knew how far you had, like, to get to the next note. Did it help you? Did you prefer it with the beat?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah. Yeah, looks like you've got consensus. Yeah, the beat is helpful.
Yeah.
James, I found it interesting towards the end, and Alex Grant was alluding to this, that when we were doing the drone plus the intervals and going through it fairly quickly, I was finding that I was thinking of different songs as we hit different chords. And I was thinking of Bally High when we went to the sixth, and other songs in our repertoire, in our minds, and all the augmented chords produced a different sound that reminded us of different songs. So that was very interesting to have that context.
Great idea. So we can use song references for intervals like we've done, but have it for chords as well.
Yeah.
All right, well, maybe let it go for one more minute, and then we should really get on with the AGM. Your best ideas to James. This is good to give him some feedback so he can
yes, thank you.
Do whatever tweaking.
Well, thank you everybody for being my guinea pigs.
Anytime.
Again.
Once again, thanks for all your time. I have no idea how many hours James would have spent on this, and he was telling me earlier today when we were talking about this. This goes back some 30 years. Some of the components of this, that moments where it really struck him, and he's now gathered all this information, and we are now today the benefactors of all that years of knowledge. And I think he's walking around feeling a sense of accomplishment. Okay, I finally produced my theses. Well done. Okay, let's move into the AGM. We'll call the meeting to order. Robert Ellis has agreed to take minutes in the absence of our regular secretary. Right off the hop, I have to admit to an oversight. I'm still not thinking in the chapter mode, and really there should have been an invite go out to all Rising Tide members who are also chapter members, so they could be part of the AGM. So to compensate for that, I will send them an apology. We are recording this, and so they can actually see the whole AGM if they want to. Mac?
Jim Cameron actually sent out a invitation to Rising Tide today.
Okay.
To make sure that they knew that they were invited. And kudos to Jim for doing that, as he's a valued member of both Tidesmen and the Nanaimo chapter and Rising Tide.
Good, good. So, well, then we are covered. I feel a little better about that. It's if I'd have thought of it a little earlier, I might have been beating the bushes a little bit more and saying, hey, talk to your brothers and sisters Rising Tide just to make sure that they do take part, because that's an opportunity missed. In any event, let's move on. We do have a quorum. I've counted the heads, and we only have 3 different things to work on tonight. We'll go through fairly quickly. We will have a voting process, and Mike Patterson isn't on tonight. He had agreed to do some counting for me, and so did Jim Cameron. So maybe I could have Peter Coles be another guy to count. I wanted 2 people counting and compare numbers. I thought if they agree on the counting of the screens. Peter, have you got 25 people on your screen?
I've got, oh, wait a second. It says I've got 28 participants, but have I got 3
I'm just wondering if your screen shows 25, or if you're on an Apple product that only shows you 9, then maybe not a good choice.
Just remember, like I see 25, but remember Barry's in attendance and he's not on video.
So if you scroll to page 2, but
Yeah, I got 25, Glenn.
okay, but we actually have 28. So when you do the counting, you'll have to flip to the next screen.
Yeah.
Yeah. Good. So Jim and Peter are our official counters. So in order as they appear, number 3 on the agenda was confirmation of officers and board for 2020. We sort of did this last fall already, so it's really been official in that special meeting that we had. But the bylaws say that we need to do it in an AGM, so that really wasn't an AGM. This is. So I'm not going to repeat the order. It was sent out to you. President, Secretary, Treasurer, VP Marketing, and then 3 members at large. So if someone would like to make a motion to approve the officers and board as presented.
Dallin.
We have Harry. Oh, okay. Dallin and I saw Harry up with his hand, so we'll give Harry the seconder. So I'll call for the vote. All in favor? And hold your hand up close to the screen so it's easy for the counters. And Barry, maybe we can get an audio vote from you.
I say yes.
Okay. Any opposed? Matt? No? No, okay. Well, I think it's unanimous. So would the counters agree it's unanimous?
Yep.
Okay. All right. On to item number 4. That's the financial statements for the year ending December 31st, which have been posted on the website. And I'll ask Dallin to speak to those.
Sure. I guess the first question is, do I need to put these up? Do you need to share a screen, or has everybody had a chance to read the documents? If anybody has not read the documents online, I should put them up. I don't need to put them up.
Okay. So if you wanted to make a motion to accept them, Dallin?
Well, I was, okay, I moved to accept the 2019 end of year financial statements as published on the website.
Max is seconder. Any discussion? Okay, we'll call for the vote. All in favor?
In favor.
Okay, thanks, Barry. Once again, I think it looks unanimous. Do the
Just have
counters
one more
agree?
comment. I'd like to thank Robert Ellis and Dave Atchison for doing the review in accordance with the BHS guidelines of those financial documents before they made it to the board. So thanks very much, gentlemen, for that work.
Well done, guys.
Yep. And so then our last item is chapter bylaws. And once again, the changes and the explanation were posted on the website, but I'm going to ask Jim Cameron to speak to that issue. We have to unmute you, Jim.
Thank you. So basically, the major change to the bylaws was the resolution, or that addition, which allows us to designate ourselves as a mixed chorus. So we've pretty much agreed to this already, at least in the board, and we just want to make sure that the rest of the chapter agrees with that. So here's my formal resolution. I'd like to make a resolution accepting the BHS bylaws, which are dated 8 September 2019, with membership option 3, which allows our chapter to have an all-male chorus, the Tidesmen, as well as a mixed chorus, Rising Tide.
Seconder? That's Peter. Holmes. Any discussion?
Yes. Can I ask? I thought, I could be wrong, but I thought we were going to say that there could be the possibility of a woman's chorus.
That's correct.
Bylaws don't allow that. They just allow for male and mixed. I thought we were going to have that. At least if it's in the bylaws, then it opens up for the possibility in the future.
Mac?
The third option actually allows the participation in any number of performing groups, which also consist of all male, all female, or mixed. So that's the third option. We just haven't taken advantage of that.
Yeah, that does cover it. My comment would be that I don't think you should name the all-male or the mixed in the bylaw. You're just allowing for a male or a mixed or an all-female without giving them specific names.
Yeah, we're not naming them. I just did that in my explanation. On the bylaw itself, it just has a box that we put an X in with no personal names for our chorus or chapter.
Okay. Mac, you've got an item?
Bylaws, I support the way we're doing it now. If we decide that in the future that we need to have or want to have a female chorus, then the bylaws can be changed. So I think in order to get this done, we need to support it the way it is. And then if it needs to be massaged, we can do that.
Further to what Mac has just said, we have a committee that's done the first stage of looking at, what happens if we make changes, i.e. adding women as members and looking at all the different options. And they've raised some question marks in terms of how difficult does life get for us as a chapter if all of a sudden we had an all-female chorus within. And so they have work to do yet. So I think it's wise for us to wait until that committee has deliberated a little bit more, thought things through, how does it all work? And then if the conclusion at the end of that was, oh, by golly, we can be comfortable to add an all-female chorus, then that would be the time to look at changing the bylaws further. Would Alan and other committee members, would you agree with that synopsis? Yeah. Okay. So we're not saying no to that forever. We're saying this is as far as we want to go for now. Okay, any other discussion? This is good. It just increases everyone's understanding before we have the vote. Alan?
Yeah, I just wanted to emphasize that based on my comments last week, there are changes that I think need to be incorporated in the bylaws as they exist now, or even the proposed ones. In particular, the acknowledgement that the BC Societies Act takes precedence over any guideline or template produced by BHS. I think we've agreed to that. Jim certainly has. So I think there are going to be changes almost right away in the bylaws. And if we're going to make changes, we have to submit, if I'm not mistaken, those bylaws to the registrar of the BC Societies Act every time we make a change. That's going to encourage them to charge us $40 for each time we make a change. So we need to get those changes done before we make that submission.
So are you suggesting that there would be an amendment to Jim's proposal that he just put forward?
No, I'm happy with us taking this version. We've got to vote on this version and get them in. I think we need to there are some changes I think to be made right away. I can propose those in due course.
Okay, fair enough. Yeah.
And then we'll vote on them at a special meeting.
Sure. Yeah. So that there are other changes after we get this one done, but you're satisfied with what's been proposed by Jim. Okay. All right. Last call for questions, discussion. Not, I'll call for the vote. All in favor?
In favor.
Thanks, Barry. And once again, it looks to me like we have unanimous. James and Peter agree with that?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. I'll call for a motion to end the meeting. Jim and Peter is seconder. All in favor? We are adjourned. Thank you, everyone.
Merci,
Do we get paid like our senators get paid for a 30-second meeting?
A 30% increase.
That works.
$40,000?
Yeah.
I'm guessing we may not have any business items, the typical business meeting, but I'll just put it all out. If anyone has anything that would pertain to what would normally look like our weekly business meeting, speak now, or otherwise we'll move into the afternoon.
Len, I have an idea.
Okay.
It's since there's so many quartets starting up and such, and since we just starting to sing, so Four is starting to sing, and This and Bypass has already been singing, and Mac, Frogs, I couldn't think of their name, and vintage style and stuff. We have registered quartets that are up and singing right now, and out in the community singing, and I think and Steve, you're still on, right, Steve?
No,
I
he
can't
left.
see my screen. So I'm thinking, wouldn't it be fun for people to submit their stories to the Tidesmen as to why they would want someone to come and sing to them, or a family member or something, and kind of make it just a little more, you know, PR worthy, make it a little more public, so people know that the Tidesmen as quartets are out, and what we could do is we could compile those stories and, you know, pick 3 or 4 a month out of a bag, you know, just by random draw, and, you know, ask to share their story or to not share their story. But we want to definitely share our story, that we're out there singing in public and safely to people, you know, who are really appreciating the visit.
Yeah, great idea, Sandy. Yeah, I will certainly get feedback from Eden Gardens when we sing there. We actually asked if we could sing there, but that's fine.
Yeah, if we can,
could
yeah,
we
of course.
title it "We'll Sing on You"?
Maybe all. It's yeah. If we got it out to, you know, all of Nanaimo and surrounding areas, that, you know, just send in your story to the Tidesmen, and you might be, you know, you might get the luck of the draw, and it'd be a fun thing. Just, you know, lottery.
Yep, no, great idea. I've jotted that down. So, okay, we're officially into the afterglow. I'm going to go get a drink.
Yeah, well, see.
Alex, I had a question.
Oh, okay.
Just curious, Alex, how, and maybe Rod can answer too, or Robert, how does it work with the squares? You guys are a group of quartets. If we're able to sing as quartets but not to get together as a chorus, is there any way we can use the way the squares do it to keep as an entity? Could we? It's currently cloudy at 14 degrees. 14 degrees. Temperatures are 14 degrees tonight. Anyway, so I just wonder if the approach of the squares of building the Tidesmen by keeping the quartets so active can help us with maintaining our integrity.
I don't want to hog the mic, but since I don't see Dad or Robert leading forward, in the past, when the squares have done, let's start early days. So early days of the squares was just a quartet, and then they started meeting with subs, and so it was kind of just everyone gathering together. You'd have like, you know, 10, 11 guys. And then when they became the association, the quote unquote chorus, they started doing weekend type rehearsals, like Saturday rehearsals. Dad and I would go over, and they'd spend an afternoon rehearsing from like maybe 2 to 7, and a third of that time would be spent singing together as a group. A third of that time would be spent breaking into random quartets. Sometimes it would be a registered quartet, you know, and a 5th ear or 6th ear. And other times it would just be, okay, a bunch of guys go to that corner, and, you know, sometimes, you know, some guy would grab a book and sing tenor and do his best. And we would coach each other for that third. You know, people listening would provide feedback for the quartet singing. Very, very effective for getting lots of feedback from lots of different listeners. And then the last third would just be, I mean, it's not as though we weren't drinking beer, but definitely beer drinking and afterglow singing. And a notable thing would be team beer. Everyone would bring a 6-pack of cheap beer and throw it in the fridge, and that was, you know, like we would do at a Tidesman afterglow. Is kind of like, if you're gonna drink some, bring some more for others. And it was very fun, fraternal feel to the whole thing. What it became recently, now that they're a little more serious on bringing new people into barbershop, they're targeting trained voices and just people who have the knack for singing, but haven't been in barbershop before, is that they've been not only meeting in a little less free form structure, a little more together singing, less time spent in quartets, as they make their way towards a chorus with less capable quartet singers, they've been adapting. But they also get together in pods, and they'll have bass clef pods and treble clef pods. So it's kind of like a scheduled duet. Like every other week would be a duet rehearsal rather than a full-on rehearsal. And I think that's something that we could utilize to reduce the amount of people meeting, just to mitigate risk. Another thing we could do is, if testing became wildly available and inexpensive, is we could do what UFC did for their big fight in Florida. It was at Gainesville or something. They tested everyone on that went to it, and then they did what they do, but it was a small group. They didn't have the big crowds. They just had the commentators, the fighters, the coaches, and they had a very small crew on hand, but they tested everyone and nobody left. It was all, they were all contained to that event. And then, that's if testing was available, I could see us, let's all go crash a camp for a weekend. I'm sure many camps are available at this time, and that would just be a hell of a fun time, and it would be great for chorus development, as well as just being, well, God, we just need to bring some chords together. So but that's dependent on whether or not testing is available to us.
Quite a ways out there, isn't it?
Well, I'm not talking about vaccine. I'm just talking about testing, the nasal swab or whatever. But right now they only test people who are essential.
Chris Potter, would you please mute your mic there? We can hear you breathing, dude.
Oh, I'm sorry. My apologies.
It's Darth Vader. That's what I hear.
Any other input?
I was breathing
Rob?
through my nose. I didn't think I was making that much noise.
I also want to add that Martin looks like Princess Leia's lesser known brother.
Alex, we can probably stop recording now too, I think.
Good reminder.